Welcome to PrepperNow.
Please, Lord, help me get one more.
All right, folks, welcome back to another version of Truck Talk with PrepperNow. I forget who said that. He said, man, I enjoy your truck talks. Well, thank you very much. So this one, I think it's something that people are not really talking about, but it's a periphery of other issues that people are talking about. So we've all talked about the new neighbors coming in. It's not just in Ohio. It's everywhere. There's a little town in Pennsylvania called Charleroi that has been beefed up. I think they had 4,000 people. Now it's like 6,000, 7,000. All from new neighbors coming over. They went to Ohio and they asked Springfield mayor, what can you do? And of course he says, well, my hands are tied because this is federally mandated. Now, I don't know how you can federally mandate things that are considered by all laws to be illegal, but I guess they find a way around it. When we look back at all this, the person I loathe the most? The person I loathe the most is Alejandro Mayorkas. When we look back at all this and we look who did the most damage personally of all the stuff, I would have to say Alejandro Mayorkas is the guy. And gets up there. He almost was impeached, should have been, but you can't get him out that way, so you just got to ride him out. But when they look back and they think, man, look at all that devastation. Who's the guy that opened the floodgates? That's your guy right there, okay? He'll probably live a nice life somewhere, retiring in the sunset, writing books, and being heralded by his political class as a great man. Meanwhile, there's a lot of problems going on in the periphery because of it. So I'm, married to a lovely lady that has been in the healthcare profession for quite some time. She was an ER nurse when we met. And, I kind of have through her an idea of just how good and how bad the quality of healthcare can be. So she worked in New York City as a ER nurse in some of the busiest places. She saw things that are indescribable. I remember I asked her, what's the craziest thing you said or saw? What's the craziest thing you saw tonight? And she told me 3 different stories. And, man, I didn't ask again. I'll just put it to you that way. I'll give you one story. A couple came in, and guy was, the girl was bleeding from the head, like she had been scratched, on her scalp. And the guy was kind of limping in, holding his private parts area. And so it goes up to the little nurse station, and they ask, all right, what's going on? What do you need to be seen for? So we both need to be seen. I said, okay, what's this about? Well, evidently, as she was performing fellatio on the man, she went into a seizure and bit down on the part. And to try to get her off, not in the fun sense, but in the please get away from me, you're about to bite through it, he was trying to scratch her head or do something to her head to awaken her out of the seizing, to unclamp down. That's one story from one night and it's not even the worst one. So, healthcare is, tough business to be in. But what's even worse is when you really need healthcare and you can't get it. You can't be seen. There's no one around. There's no way to get care. I'm hearing more and more stories of people having to wait 24, 36 hours while they're in the ER trying to get health care. My son, when he broke his arm last year, he broke the crap out of it, had surgeries. I don't know if I spoke about it. I think I did briefly, but it's about a year ago or so, about 11 months ago. It was in October. He went to our little regional medical care place, right? And, he was a trooper. I'll tell you what, I gained I love this kid, but he was everything you would hope your little boy would do in a very scary and tumultuous situation. He held his arm, he held back the tears, he looked stoically into the distance and was like, let's just get through this crap. Take him over to the regional medical center. They looked at it and they said, we don't even have the ability to deal with this thing. It's so jacked up. Because it had earth in there and other stuff, and there had to be a real intensive procedure to fix it. So, took him down to D.C., got him into one of their major hospitals. We were there for 20 hours before he was finally seen. Sitting there with a compound broken through the skin fracture. Took it like a champ, but still absolutely unacceptable in care. My wife, ER nurse in some of the most major ERs in the world, just looked at it and said, like, this is unacceptable. This is beyond the pale. Finally, she went out, when we were sitting there, and it probably would have been longer, but she finally went out and spoke like ER nurseanese or something and said, you need to get your butt in here and you need to deal with my child right now or I'm going to go friggin' ballistic. And so they went in, they dealt with it, he healed up, he's fine now. He's got a little scar, but it's all good. Still though, unacceptable and all that. There's a story that came out today about a little country hospital in Thomasville, Alabama. About 30 beds, not a big place. It can't keep the doors open and it's going under. It's basically closing up shop. This is the story of multiple hospital systems all over the country in rural areas where if you're out in the country and you need to be seen for something that is critical, you're going to have to drive a very long time to get to a place not only that's just like able to do what they need to do to help you, but just open. Seriously. Now you tack on to the fact that they're taking all of these new neighbors and they're pumping them into our little rural communities now. It used to be we took them to the cities. Now they're pumping them into these little rural communities. And they're taking up all kinds of resources. Well, one of those resources is going to be hospital care. Like, what do you do with that? When you're sitting there and you can't be seen. When we were in that D.C. hospital, I think we were the only English speakers in the ER. Now, I don't care. I know I used to live in New York. This isn't an indictment on people that don't speak English, but still, it's one thing when, it's a lot of them. It's another thing when you're literally the only English speaker there. So, I don't know their status or anything like that, and, I fully get that people are trying to come here to get a better life, but it's now to the point where this isn't about helping the unwashed masses. This isn't about trying to do things to make it so we have a country where we can get workers, because the place in Alabama that's closing up, it's because they can't get staff. That's what they said. Now, it's also financial. It supposedly had dozens of checks bounce and everything else, but still, you take all these new neighbors and you throw it onto the pile of declining services that are going on all throughout America. That's a recipe for disaster. They're talking about in Ohio and in other cities where they've just dropped off this massive influx of new neighbors. How the car crash rates have just exploded. And people, one of the city council members, and one of them said, I almost got into a wreck. Now, I don't know what side of the fence they're on, but all this is a major problem, We're having declining services, and they're putting all these new people into all these communities that are maxed out in services, can't even do the basics to see you when you have a medical emergency, tell you to go down the road, 50, 60, 80 miles, whatever it may be. I mean, that's a problem. It's not going to work. And then take all this and extrapolate it out into what will an SHTF look like if you need to get medical care of a critical nature and everybody is maxing out these services. I mean, if they can't even handle something on a Tuesday, what are they going to do when the fit hits the shan? Seriously. What does that look like? I'll tell you what, you better get your medical prep game upped. Now, it's easy for me to say, being married to a former emergency room nurse and now doctor who understands the knowledge, knows medication like the back of her hand, has medical equipment. Most people aren't that lucky. So, whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are, medical preps are incredibly important, especially going through what we got coming in. Yesterday, Congress wants to add a new amendment, the 28th Amendment. They haven't passed an amendment in decades. 28th Amendment, basically making it so they can do a COG, as they call it, continuity of government, and make it so if some kind of a mass casualty event were to happen, they would have a succession plan in place. And basically what it highlighted was a event where multiple people in our government are taken out, like hundreds, and entire swaths of the country did not have representation. What do they know or think is possible that they would want this right now? Seriously. That's a pretty bold move, if you ask me. So, what I can say is this. Do not be deficient in your medical preps. Here we always preach the FEMS thing, food, energy, medical, security, kind of in that order. You want the food, you want to be able to try to keep the lights on or keep the food refrigerated, and then, of course, you want to be able to handle something medical nature, whatever that may be, and protect your stuff should someone decide to try it. Medical is not third because it's third. It's just works with the alliteration or whatever the heck it is. Medical should be high on your list. Medical should be something that you're able to handle. Medical should be something that, unless it's like, getting a gallbladder removed, you can handle at least the basics of it on spot, whatever that may be. All right, friends, there's your truck talk. God bless you all. Thank you so much for letting me do this. It gets me a couple days to sleep in the week and keeps me from getting too sick or too whatever. So hit the like button, do all the subscribe things and everything if you're new here, and consider being a member. Those are the wonderful people in green. It's $2 a month. And then, of course, you can join me online at Subscribestar and Locals, where we have a nice community on both, about 100 people on each, for $3 a month, where I can put out all kinds of information that you would probably not be able to see elsewhere on the old Book of Face. God bless, friends. We will see you on the next one.